Zia couldn't believe it. How could Lin have leveled up so fast when he didn't know how to bypass the dungeon cooldown? However, this was a good opportunity for her to tease Lin. She turned to him and said, "If you say please, I'll tell you." Lin was now faced with a decision: sacrifice his pride and learn how to bypass the dungeon cooldown, or remain prideful and fail to hit level 16. His pride won and he remained silent. Zia was disappointed. She had hoped that Lin would beg her, but he didn't. She pulled out an item from her pocket and handed it to him. The beginner level cooldown talisman can reduce the cooldown of dungeons. However, since the rank was low, it would be ineffective on dungeons above level 20. Lin was stunned. He couldn't believe that an item like this existed. He turned to Zia and asked if the item was expensive. She informed him that her father paid a high sum to purchase it. Lin looked disappointed. He planned on asking her to borrow it, but it looks like he wouldn't be able to. Continuing on, Zia started complaining out loud. She had to clear 9 normal level dungeons to hit level 15, and with the beginner level talisman it was possible. But she would need to hit level 15 in 2 days, and after just a few hours she was already exhausted. Lin listened in and calmly thought about his options. He could party with her and share the beginner level talisman, or he could struggle to hit level 16. Lin looked at her and said, "I can party with you, that way you will definitely reach level 15. And you wouldn't have to do anything." Zia looked at Lin. She had completely forgotten that Lin could solo clear dungeons, and if she joined his party there would be more experience. But if she joined his party, then she would never be able to reach a higher level than him. However, at the pace her leveling was going, she could never catch up to him, so she took him up on his offer. Lin informed her that they will be starting in 2 hours, so she should rest. And while she rested, Lin meditated. 2 hours later, Lin woke Zia up, and they made their way to the dungeon entrance. At the portal, Lin used the beginner level talisman and selected the nightmare difficulty. Inside the dungeon, Zia started freaking out after seeing the monster's stats. She asked Lin if he chose the wrong difficulty by accident. Lin stepped out of the protective barrier and told her to stick close to him. She carefully made her way out of the protective barrier, looking around for any monsters. She was slowing him down, so Lin turned around and asked her if she was scared. She shouted "no way" and ran to catch up to him. With Zia by his side, Lin summoned more skeleton warriors from the summon space and ordered them to attack. The skeleton warriors' stats were so high that the level 14 goblins were doing no damage to them. They quickly made their way past the goblins and entered the Wolf King's den. Zia was horrified as she stared at the giant Wolf King. The one in the nightmare difficulty was twice the size of the Wolf King in the normal difficulty. Lin had brought a goblin's corpse with him. He threw the corpse in the air and activated the skill corpse explosion. It would be a waste of time to fight the Wolf King when he could kill it in one hit. Zia watched the explosions in shock. Her experience bar instantly filled up 30%, and Lin just killed the Wolf King in less than a minute. When her and her previous party suffered for 20 minutes, Lin looked back, signaling for them to keep moving. Zia followed behind him, but she was still in shock. A student below level 20 is solo clearing a nightmare difficulty dungeon, so she asked him if he had been soloing dungeons since he was level 10. Lin replied yes. Then 10 minutes later they arrived at the boss room. Zia still couldn't wrap her mind around what she was witnessing. Her previous party took over an hour to enter the boss room, but Lin did it in just 10. Lin wasn't done with the surprises. He threw a goblin corpse he carried with him and used corpse explosion, killing the Goblin King in one hit. After defeating the Goblin King, Lin reached level 15. The gap between him and Zia continued to grow. Zia received 25,000 experience points, the bronze level Goblin King's longsword, and a low-level monster's core. Zia was disappointed with her rewards. She wanted the Goblin King's scepter. Suddenly, Lin called out to her, asking if she wanted the Goblin King's scepter. She replied saying that it was an item she was hunting for, and although there were some in the trade market, she didn't want to ask her father to buy it for her. Lin threw the Goblin King's scepter to her and told her to have it. She accepted it gratefully, but she questioned why Lin wasn't going to use the scepter himself. Lin pulled out the Goblin King's magic book from his storage and informed her that he likes using the book more than the scepter. Lin approached the Goblin King's corpse, as he expected gathering the monsters together and using corpse explosions was the fastest way to clear dungeon. He knelt down and spoke to the corpse. "Sorry, but you will have to die 5 more times." Zia asked him why he was talking to the boss, and Lin told her it was his ritual he performed after clearing the dungeon. Zia found it strange that Lin was speaking to the boss's corpse, but she also thought it was a bit cute. Another other one had fallen under Lin's spell. The both of them exited the dungeon, and after making it outside, Lin quickly activated the beginner level talisman, and they entered the dungeon again. They easily cleared the dungeon for the second time, and went back to clear it 3 more times. After their 5th run, the beginner level talisman used up all of its durability. However, this wasn't a concern for Zia. She reached level 14, and they still had half a day left before the big exam, meaning they could clear the dungeon 2 more times and she could reach level 15. She asked Lin if he was close to reaching level 16. Lin informed her that he was, and she asked him if he was planning to try and become a champion. She informed him that if he became a champion, he would receive a lot of points and would get a chance to enter the Creation Seminary. Lin asked her what the Creation Seminary was, and she told him that the Creation Seminary was a gathering of the best students in the country, and Zihai City only had 1 student inside the Creation Seminary. Zia thought that Lin had a high chance to become the second Zihai City student to enter the Creation Seminary. Lin started thinking. His sister was at Zia Jing Academy, and getting admitted is his goal, so if the chance to become the champion arises, then he would aim for it. Behind Lin, Zia noticed Gao Yang trying to join a party. He was now level 11, but because he was a knight he was rejected. Lin started approaching him so he could invite him to join his party. Then inside an office, the boss of the Dynasty Guild was screaming at his son for restricting a dungeon. He took a deep breath and told his son to stay in the guild until it was time for the exams, since he was already level 16. The son asked what his father planned on doing about the guild members that disappeared. He told his son not to worry about it since he already hired people to investigate the members' disappearance. Back at the dungeon entrance, Lin and Zia called out to Gao. He turned around and saw the 2 enemies walking closely with each other. He teased them, saying, "You 2 have gotten very close. What developments did I miss?" Zia told him to shut up or she would rip him apart. Then she told him to join their party once their cooldown ended. She was confident that they could help him reach level 12. Gao was grateful. His goal was reaching level 12. He continued to tease Zia. Then he asked her how long until the dungeon resets for them. She told him that they had 10 hours left. Gao decided to go hunt monsters and give his friend some room to continue working his magic. Suddenly he heard someone casting a spell, and when he turned around, Zia had activated the fireball skill. He quickly ran away. 10 hours later, the 3 returned to the portal, and after adding Gao to the party, they entered the dungeon. Inside the dungeon, Gao noticed that the stats of the goblins were very high. He asked Lin and Zia if they accidentally picked the nightmare difficulty. Zia told him to be quiet and follow along. She exited the protective barrier, and Gao followed closely behind her. In just a few minutes, they made their way to the boss room, and Lin one-shot the Goblin King. Gao was speechless. The final boss of the dungeon that even a party of 10 would find hard to defeat was just killed in 1 hit. He grabbed Lin by the leg and begged him to take him along anytime he entered a dungeon. Zia told him to act like a knight. However, Gao didn't think he should when Lin could just carry him. Gao continued to hold on to Lin's leg, making him uncomfortable. Lin asked him to let go of his leg and promised to bring him along in the future. The next day on the city wall, Principal Lu and a few others waited, anticipating the students' return. One of the other principals asked Principal Lu if the 2 geniuses from his school were aiming to enter Zia Jing Academy. Principal Lu replied, "Yes, both Lin and Zia are trying to get into Zia Jing Academy." According to the previous year test results, only those at level 15 had a good chance of entering, and those at level 16 were almost guaranteed to enter. Principal Lu had his hopes up for a miracle. Lin's sister managed to reach level 16, and Zia was the pride of her family. The first student from the other school approached the city gate. He was a swordsman that was able to reach level 12. The next student was a level 13 archer. A while passed, but Gao, Lin, and Zia hadn't shown up yet. The other principals started bragging about their students, even though no one above level 14 had appeared yet. A little while later, Lin, Gao, and Zia appeared. Gao was able to reach level 12 thanks to Lin's help. Zia reached level 15. However, this meant she only had an 80% chance of entering Zia Jing Academy. Lin, on the other hand, was level 16. The principals were shocked not only by their level but by the equipment they were carrying. That evening, Principal Lu guided Lin, Gao, and Zia to the bus that would take them back to school after the other students arrived. He is happy that his students made the other principals eat their words. Inside the bus, Lin was deep in thought. He was able to reach level 16 and was confident that he could get into Zia Jing Academy. He decided to aim for Creation Seminary. A while later, all the other students had arrived, and the bus took them back to the school, where they would rest for the night. The next day, Lin arrived at the examination site. His spirit energy was fully recovered. He had 100 skeleton warriors in the summoning space, and he was in peak condition. Gao spotted Lin making his way through the crowd and called out to him. Zia heard Gao and she quickly made her way to them. She asked Lin if he was confident in passing, and Lin responded with one word, yes. Since Lin was so confident, she asked him to promise her that they would meet in Jiajing Academy. Lin promised. Then all of the students were given a blue crystal. Principal Lu explained to them that if they infused spiritual energy into the crystal, then they would be transported to the examination site. The students all activated the crystal, and they were teleported away. Lin was the first to teleport to Jiangning Provincial Exam Center, and he counted the other students as they appeared. There were over 10,000 students in the exam center, and suddenly the trial tower was activated. After it was formed, the students heard a voice telling them to listen to the rule. No speaking was allowed, no questions were allowed, and if the students didn't follow the rule, they would fail automatically. Two students were confused. They turned to each other questioning what they just heard. Instantly, the two were disqualified and were teleported away. The voice continued. The trial tower will give you different trials based on your profession. Main battle types would be given a monster to defeat. Support professions will be put in various situations. After clearing the basic trial, students will be given an option to choose between 3 levels: normal, nightmare, and hell. The different levels would give the students different results and different amounts of points. The points would reflect their results, and they can be used in the academy. The point is the academy's version of gold. Finally, the student could only use the equipment they had equipped, but they couldn't use items in their storage space. Those who violated the rules would instantly be disqualified. The students got into a single file line, and after a while it was Lin and 2 other students' turn. As they were about to be teleported into the trial, professionals watched in anticipation of what the new necromancer profession could do in action. Inside the trial tower, Lin had to fight the Wolf Orc Mage. The countdown started, and instantly after the timer reached 0, Lin used the Soul Blaze skill and killed the monster. The professionals looked at the results in disbelief. Lin killed the monster in 0.1 second. Thanks for watching, and if you enjoyed the video, then hit the like button.